The 5 Worst Presidents in American History, Historian-backed 2026 update. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for the request. You wanted it longer and deeper. So Aritis the No Holds Barred. Expanded breakdown of the 5 worst presidents in American history. Fully updated for 2026. These rankings draw directly from the most respected historian surveys, including Siena College's ongoing presidential polls, the Presidential Greatness Project with 154 scholars, CSBAN's historian evaluations, and decades of work by hundreds of political scientists. This isn't partisan shouting or quick YouTube reactions. These are cold, evidence-based judgments on which leaders inflicted the greatest long-term damage on the United States, measured by constitutional violations, economic arm, social division, and failure of basic leadership when the nation needed it most. We're counting down from number 5 to the undisputed champion of presidential failure. Grab a drink, settle in, and let us get into Italiano. Number 5, Richard Nixon. You already know the headline, but the full story still shocks every time it's retold. In the middle of his 1972 re-election campaign, Nixon's inner circle secretly hired 5 burglars to break into the Democratic National Committee offices at the Watergate complex. While Nixon didn't personally plan the break-in, his response turned a small crime into a constitutional crisis. 2 years of deliberate lies to the American people, obstruction of justice, and secret payments to silence witnesses. When the FBI traced the burglars straight back to the White House re-election committee, Nixon panicked and tried to kill the investigation. He ordered his attorney general to fire the independent special prosecutor. When that man courageously refused, Nixon fired the next official, then the one after that. The night became infamous as the Saturday Night Massacre, an event many legal experts still describe as the closest America has ever come to a domestic coup attempt. The Supreme Court eventually ordered the release of Nixon's secret Oval Office tapes, which captured the cover-up in raw, profane detail. Facing certain impeachment and removal, Nixon resigned in disgrace on August 9, 1974, becoming the first and only president in U.S. history to quit. His own words, "I am not a crook," now define his legacy more than any foreign policy achievement. The scandal destroyed public trust in Washington for a generation and led to major campaign finance reforms that we still debate today. Number 4. Andrew Jackson. Old Hickory remains a romantic frontier legend for many. Celebrated war hero, face on the $20 bill, champion of the common man. Yet modern historians have aggressively re-evaluated him, openly questioning whether he belongs on American currency at all. Jackson was notoriously hot-tempered. He dueled multiple times, once beat a political rival with a cane, and reportedly killed a man who insulted his wife. That rough-edged style once fit the era. The unforgivable part is the Indian Removal Act of 1830. Jackson aggressively pushed legislation that forcibly displaced roughly 6 Native Americans from 5 major tribes: Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole, from their ancestral lands east of the Mississippi. The deadly journeys that followed are forever remembered as the Trail of Tears. Men, women, and children died by the thousands from disease, starvation, brutal winter conditions, and sheer exhaustion on the long marshes. When the Supreme Court ruled the removals unconstitutional in Worcester v. Georgia, Jackson allegedly dismissed the decision with contempt. John Marshall has made his decision. Now let him enforce it. He simply ignored the judiciary and proceeded anyway. For more than 100 years, schoolbooks ranked Jackson among America's greatest presidents. Today, thanks to decades of deeper scholarship on Native American history and human rights, he sits firmly in the bottom ranks. Ethnic cleansing, it turns out, does not improve with time. Number 3. Woodrow Wilson. For most of the 20th century, Woodrow Wilson was celebrated as a progressive giant architect of the League of Nations, champion of the 19th Amendment granting women the vote, and decisive leader through World War I older rankings, routinely placed him comfortably in the top 10. But when historians examined his full domestic record in detail, the image cracked badly. In 1913, this Virginia-born president, steeped in nostalgia for the Old South, ordered the full resegregation of the entire federal government. Black civil servants who had worked alongside white colleagues for nearly 50 years were abruptly moved to separate offices, separate lunchrooms, separate bathrooms, and separate drinking fountains. Career advancement for black federal employees slammed to a halt. When a group of black leaders peacefully protested these changes in the Oval Office, Wilson had them removed. He then invited filmmaker D.W. Griffith to screen the racist epic, The Birth of a Nation Inside the White House, a movie that glorified the Ku Klux Klan as protectors of white America. Wilson reportedly described the film as history written with lightning. The White House screening handed the Klan its most powerful public relations victory in decades, and membership surged dramatically in the following years. Modern reassessments of Wilson aren't driven by fleeting political trends. They represent serious, evidence-based corrections grounded in primary documents and long-ignored voices. Number 2. Donald Trump. Yes, this one remains deeply controversial, but historian rankings don't wait for public comfort levels to catch up. The record includes 2 separate impeachments, the first president ever to achieve that distinction. He also became the first former president to face serious criminal prosecution, with 91 felony counts across 4 different cases. During his term, he successfully reshaped the Supreme Court, leading to the overturning of nearly 50 years of settled precedent, particularly on reproductive rights. Then came the events of January 6, 2021. After losing his re-election bid, the sitting president spoke to a large crowd of supporters and urged them to march in the U.S. Capitol to hold the certification of the Electoral College results. The violent riot that followed injured 140 police officers and resulted in 5 deaths. It was the first time the Capitol building had been breached by an American mob since British troops burned it in the War of 1812. Across ideological lines, historians cite that single day as compelling evidence of profound failure in constitutional leadership. Number 1. James Buchanan. Scholars debate nearly every president, but James Buchanan stands alone in near universal condemnation. For generations, he has topped every worst president's list, and the 2026 updates leave him exactly where he has always been. As southern states began seceding in late 1860, Buchanan remained almost completely passive in the White House. He declared secession illegal in principle, but insisted the federal government had no constitutional power to prevent it. A position critics compared to believing arson is wrong while forbidding firefighters from responding. By the time Abraham Lincoln took the oath in March 1861, 7 states had already left the Union, created the Confederacy, seized multiple federal forts along the southern coast, and begun raising an army. Buchanan essentially surrendered to the crisis. He packed his belongings, handed Lincoln a fractured nation already on the brink of full-scale civil war, and reportedly remarked, "If you are entering the presidency at this time, you are a happier man than I am." More than 620,000 Americans died in the Civil War that followed. While Buchanan did not cause the war single-handedly, his paralysis and refusal to act made the catastrophe unavoidable. His fingerprints remain on every death from that terrible conflict. There you have it, the 5 worst presidents in American history, expanded 2026 edition. Some actively ripped the country apart. Others watched it unravel and did nothing. A few proved that even the most powerful office on earth can be held by men whose decisions left wounds that still shape our politics today. These conclusions come from real historians who spend their lives in archives, reading original letters, diaries, and records, not just comment sections or viral clips. What's your take? Who did we miss? Who should have ranked higher or lower? Drop your strongest opinions in the comments. If this longer version performs well, we'll drop even deeper single president deep dives next. Smash like, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious and keep learning. Peace.